So I'm going to try something new tonight, primarily because I kind of felt I couldn't let this day end without telling this story again. I've, just so you know, just kind of making this work on the fly here. I've got some notes behind me. I'm going to look at this, and I'm going to do my best to keep this short, but I just feel I need to do this story justice. So if you're okay tuning in for a little while, the title of this story is Crazy Awesome. And that is just crazy awesome. So the story is about something that happened incredibly today, but I need to kind of take you back a little bit to kind of bring you up to speed of what's been going on. And lately is kind of relative term, right? I mean, a couple months, couple weeks, definitely this past couple weeks, but a couple months now, we've really been hearing God moving, and I've really been trying to press in and go, God, what is it that you would really have, for me, God? What is it that I need you to hear, and that I need to hear from you? And God, I just want to hear you better. And I'm going to start back in November when I went to a retreat at Laterno where Bill Vanderbush was speaking. And, Bill was one of those guys. I'm not the type of guy that easily just connects, right? I love intimate relationships, but I don't just easily connect for some reason. But for whatever reason, when I met Bill, it was just kind of one of those things. It's like, wow, he truly is a brother. And there was such prophetic stuff that just that whole weekend was just amazing. But I want to just kind of leave that alone for a second and just move into the fact that he had written a book called Reckless Love. Reckless Grace. And it's important that it's Reckless Grace. And inside that book, he has kind of a tactic on how it is that you want to release more grace through your life. And it's really an awesome tactic. It's kind of interesting. I'll kind of explain it. He talks about naming an offense in your life. It's kind of like when you feel something that offends you, to try to give it a name so that you can completely understand it. Now, a simple, awesome example of this, when I first learned this tactic, I wanted to kind of put it to practice and see what it was. So the day after I read this in his book, I was driving down the road, and I was in a 3-lane kind of highway. I was in the kind of center lane, moving on, and to the right-hand lane was an exit lane, and there was this gentleman in the car in the right-hand lane that had his turning signal on as if he was trying to move into the left-hand lane. So I backed off a little bit, and he had his turning signal on, and he wasn't moving over, so I still slowed down a bit. And, when he didn't move over, I heard myself talking to him, and I'm like, God, I'm like, dude, what's going on? Are you going to move over or what? And I was like, okay, there it is. I felt offense. And, Bill in his book, he talks about acknowledging the honest feelings, the emotions that are in there. And I had to kind of walk through. It's like, what was I really feeling? And why did I kind of like call out to this guy in the car? Because I'm not typically that guy who's always yelling in the car. It's not that I never do it, but I'm not typically that guy. So I was like, okay, what's going on here? And I had to get to the bottom of it and go, well, right now my car is in really bad shape, and I don't know what's going to happen with it. Our finances are not in great shape. I don't know what's going to happen there. And, the job that I was in, I'm like, that hasn't been right for a long time. So I was going through this, and I was like, okay, there's just a lot of uncertainty in my life. I said, so I named it uncertainty. And as soon as I named it uncertainty, I was like, oh, wow, that's just so obvious, right? The guy was sitting here with the turning signal on, not coming into. He was uncertain what was going on. So I was like, thank you, God. That was awesome. That was cool. And in that moment, I was able to say, thank you. Father, just bless this man. Thank you for this moment. We were able to release grace. And that was cool. It was like a little practice, right? So fast forward, and a day or two later, not exactly sure when it was, I got to work. And as I said, things have not been great there for a while. And I received an email, and the email really offended me. I don't want to really go into all of what that offense was. But what was interesting is I took the time to practice this tactic. And I kept working through it. And I was like, okay, what am I really feeling here? What are my emotions? And I really did a good job about how I was feeling and getting those emotions named. But I could, identifying the emotions and what was going on in my mind. And I tried to really put out what I knew. These are kind, good people, but we're just not making it work. And I'm like, what's going on here? And I couldn't really get to the name. I couldn't get to the name. So this is like that last paragraph. I just want to read it to you. As I got to the end of this, I said, but here's what I truly believe. It is not for me to find here, and that is the name. I do not believe I will be at this job much longer. Not because of this particular situation, because I want to practice what I preach. I want the opportunity to see in action what God has prepared for me, and I do not believe that can happen where I currently am. And this is unfortunate, because I believe there is a great opportunity here with good people. But if I am to leave, it will be with the right heart. So with that, and then I went about writing a prayer for God about the organization. But I ended up titling that journal, A Time to Leave. And I started feeling like, okay, God, you're telling me get out of here. But yeah, I get it. I mean, cars, remember, breaking down, money, all that other stuff. What am I going to do with that? So next day, I'm just going to mention real quick that we've been doing fast at church, and this is cool. I love this. We do it once a year, and I've just really grown to fully appreciate this. And this year, God revealed to me something that I sometimes speak in terms of like these top 2 or 3 things, these top spiritual things that have been revealed in our life. Salvation always has to be among the top, but then a couple of years ago it was the I just asked God, I'm like, God, show me what it means to grieve the Holy Spirit. And sure enough, that day he did it, and I just sat in awe. But this one was different. This one really beat me up. God revealed to me on the day before my 49th birthday, it's the 7-7 year. Right, 7-7 year on my name. I love this. It's my 7th year in 2019. 5779 779. I'm loving it. So, anyways, I digress there. He revealed to me something. So, what had happened? I was having this great day, and I got home and I read Psalm 1, 2 through 3, and it says, but those who delight in the law of the Lord and who meditate on his law day and night, that person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers. And I don't know why, but that day I was not in the right heart and mind. My depression came back big time, and it was bad. It was bad. I mean, I had been awesome most of that day. Then all of a sudden, like a left field depression hit me. And I was reading that and I'm going, well, God, I'm not prospering. I mean, by any stretch of the imagination, I'm not prospering. So I am not that man. And so now I've got to go back and read the Bible and go, why am I not that man? And I get to the front of it, it says, but those who delight in the law of the Lord. And I'm thinking, that's it. I don't delight in the law of the Lord. I don't meditate on it day and night. I'm like, who really delights in 613 laws that we can't understand? So I set that aside, not feeling so hot, and kind of went and busied myself until Cheyenne got home, my wife, and we then went back through it. And I was telling her, I'm like, this has really hit me hard today. And I swear I just heard Jesus speak to the Spirit, not audibly. And I swear he just said, the law is love, man. I was like, oh, of course it is. Right? And I'm like, of course I delight in love. I mean, for so many reasons I delight in love. And to meditate on it day and night, yeah, that I do. In so many ways, because I just want to know love more, because I know who I was before I was saved. I know who I was before I knew Christ, and I'm thankful I'm not that guy anymore. So yeah, I delight in the Lord. And then as I reread that thing, I'm like, oh yeah, I am prosperous. I have this beautiful wife. I have amazing children, grandchildren. I've got a roof over my head. I've got food on the table. I've never gone a day without in my whole life. Does that mean there hasn't been stress? Not at all. But I am prosperous. In every way, I am prosperous, but my heart and mind was wrong there. And I had to dive in and go, okay, God, what are you really trying to show me here? And that night, he gave me the word. He named it for me. And it was unworthy. God showed me that I've been living my life believing I was unworthy. And I'm going to tell you, that goes really deep. That goes really deep, and it hurt, and I felt like I was beat up the next day. I'm talking body blow after body blow, right? But man, was I thankful. I had been set free. I had been set free. So here it is. I'm like, wow, this is just like what's going on in life. And so let me kind of fast forward to yesterday now. And I've started been doing this study on prosperity versus coveting, and what is the difference, right? Because truly, it's like if I look at prosperity as all that I already have, then coveting is simply what more could I possibly want? And it suddenly hit me during the day that one thing I really wanted was more time. I kind of felt like I didn't have enough time. So I actually wrote a prayer. And the prayer was this. It says, Lord, oh, that you would help me to know others. Let me start this over. It says, Lord, oh, that you would help others to know you as I do. Yes, I know that sounds braggadocious, and I don't mean it to be such. I simply revel in the truth you have shown me, and I want others to know. Yes, surely others know you differently than I, and yes, surely I want to know you in them. Lord, I desire that more. I desire that more know you and come to experience your glory. And I ask, is this the heaviness of the glory which is spoken? Is the heaviness an unyielding desire to share your word? Key verse there, or key part of the prayer. And said, Lord, may it be that I'm ever so blessed and honored to share you with more. Thank you for giving this to me already, because I have the opportunity. For surely I have all I need that this would be so. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Now that was a very long backdrop to get to today. And today is where crazy awesome happens. Keeping in mind all that I just shared with you, let me kind of step you through this day, which started out as anything else. I showed up to work, started getting to work, had some good things going on, having a good month, good, right? Sales are good, whatever, haven't been, have not been, but things are going in the right direction, so we're good. Then my boss sits down with me and fires me. And I'm like, alrighty, it was time to leave. I didn't walk out, but God opened the door. And I have to tell you that I left that place, and I was comparing it to another time in life when I got let go at a company where there was a lot of value that had been created. And in that time, when I left that day crying. I left my wife, and I called her, and I was like, wow. In my heart, I was like, I let her down again. I let everybody down again. I've not provided as a man should provide, but I've let her down again. And today, all I knew was freedom. The only word that I could use to describe how I was feeling today was breathtaking. I truly just behold all that just happened. Like I was saying, it was time to leave, and God, give me more time to share your word. All these things, and here it was. I was not concerned about like provision, right? Because how can I be? That's what this whole thing is God's going to provide, and what am I going to do with it? So anyways, I had an appointment scheduled to meet a couple guys, a couple brothers. I had a Dunkin' Donuts, 12 o'clock. I had nothing to do today, so I showed up early. I go into Dunkin' Donuts, and there is nobody in the place except for one young man. All the tables are empty. He's sitting in these chairs, two of the more comfortable chairs. He's in one, and there's one other next to him. So I walk up and I'm like, hey, do you mind if you want, have some company? Because now I'm just going to kind of invade his space because I want the comfortable chair. It's important that I have a comfortable chair, I guess. I don't know. So, yeah, no problem, kid, no problem at all. So I sit down and I pull out the journal I'd written, which was a time to leave, and started reading it. And I really just wanted to, wow, God, you had already shown me this was happening, and there was some stuff in there, stuff that had been recently about the shaking, and I was like, I knew this was all, yeah, it's you, I want to see this. And this young man begins to talk to me. And he says, hey, how's 2019 going so far? Loaded question, right? How's 2019 going so far? Only word that I could honestly say was excellent. Excellent. He's like, oh, me too. Because I was just over here trying to get my old job back, and they wouldn't give it to me back. I just got out of jail. And then this young man goes on to tell me about how he had gotten a DWI and he didn't show up to court, so 30 days in jail. And he told me, he's like, look, I by no means am I an uneducated man. He's like, this was just dumb on my part. So I took the bait. I'm like, so what did you study? What was your education? He says, criminal justice. So we both got a good laugh out of that, right? Because it's like, well, that's kind of comical. But I'm like, okay, this is good. And he begins to share a little bit more. And he says, I really need to change, though. I need to make a change because, things with I got to begin taking care of my 14-year-old daughter. My 14-year-old sister, very clear. 14-year-old sister. He's about 24, 25-year-old kid. Young man, sorry. And he says, I need to take care of myself. I need to find a job. I need to take care of her. He goes, because mom is real bad. Mom has had 5 DWIs now, and she's in a rough place. She said that. He goes, did you ever hear about the child soldiers over in Cambodia? I was like, yeah, I've heard about that. He goes, that my mom was one. And we kind of briefly, I was like, wow, I can't even imagine the weight of that, right? I mean, that's a generational weight there. I'm like, okay, wow, yeah, sorry, yeah. And as we're talking, he looks over his shoulder. He's like, oh man, I just missed my bus. I'm like, hey, I've got to be back here at noon. I've got 20, 30 minutes. Can I take you somewhere? He says, you would do that? I go, yeah, no problem. Where do you need to go? He goes, well, if you just drive me up the street to the bus terminal, I'll catch the bus back to home. I'm like, okay. So we get in the car, we're driving around, right, and he's sharing more and more. And at this point, I'm like, it wasn't as if I had not shared about our faith, but it wasn't a core conversation. And I began sharing about, how faith is important in our life and how Jesus really made the difference. And it was a great conversation. As we're pulling up to the bus stop, it's coming up on the right-hand side, and we're going down the left-hand side, and we're going down the right. I was like, well, I'll tell you what, let me pull around and drop you off in front. I go, I'll pull around this parking lot up here. Yeah, okay, no problem. I say, when we get to the parking lot, would you mind if I could pray, if I prayed for you? No, that'd be cool. Guys, this is not normal for me. It's answer to prayer. It's absolutely answer to prayer. It's not normal for me. So I pray. Whatever. I don't remember what I said. I'm like, all right, let me pull out to bring you back. He goes, hey, would you mind driving me home? I'm like, okay. He goes, just down the street a little bit. And he begins talking. And he had mentioned about, the pastors and who now would come into prison ministry. Thank you, brothers, planting those seeds. He goes, they came in, and he goes, I've heard of Jesus. He says, but I've never accepted him into my life. He goes, and I want to do that. Crazy awesome. Crazy awesome. You can't orchestrate that. You can't orchestrate that. I'm going to tell you, that's a reward for me. People don't get that. Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I'm not. Right? That's a reward for me. That was God going, you're hearing me. You've asked to hear and you're hearing me. Hold on, buddy. You're about to get what you want. So anyways, I just had to share Crazy Awesome with you tonight. There's so much more to this story. But the important piece is release that reckless love. Release that reckless grace. Experience Crazy Awesome.